So I've noticed lately that Vasyl Lomachenko has received a lot of disrespect from fans, obviously throughout his career, but more particularly lately. Now, I will say this, I do not have Vasyl Lomachenko in my pound for pound list, which is a hot take to an extent, because most articles and news outlets do have him on their pound for pound list. I don't have him in my top 10, but that doesn't change the fact that I feel he's heavily disrespected by fans, people online, not even for his accomplishments and accolades, but truly for his fighting ability. I made a post on Twitter stating that Vasyl Lomachenko defeats everyone at 135, even now. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Out of the 100% of people that commented, I'd say 70 to 75% of people disagreed with me. A lot of these people would pick Devin Haney to beat him. A lot of these people would pick Shakur Stevenson to beat him if they moved up. If he moved up, a lot of people would pick Gervonta Davis to beat him. And there were even some people that were picking guys like Ryan Garcia and George Kambosos to beat him, which really surprised me. Now, let's be honest here. George Kambosos, Ryan Garcia, those guys shouldn't even be in the conversation. Lomachenko would walk through them. And I know some people say, oh, Ryan Garcia knocked out Luke Campbell. Loma went the full 12 of him. That means absolutely nothing. I mean, if we're going to be honest, I don't think Ryan Garcia would have been able to put on the type of performance against a guy like Jorge Linares or Jose Pedraza the way Vasyl Lomachenko did. If we go with triangle theory and all this, Vasyl Lomachenko would outperform most of these guys. I mean, he outperformed Linares against Haney, and some people are going to be like, oh, he got dropped against Linares. Yeah, but he got up and stopped him a couple rounds later. I mean, Devin Haney nearly got knocked out on his feet and shelled up for the rest of the fight. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about if he fought him. And if we're being honest, I would pick Loma to beat Devin Haney right now. He's too many wrinkles in his game. I mean, what do you guys think Loma would have done to George Kambosos? He wouldn't have just outpointed him. He would have battered him and beaten him to a pulp in that fight. Devin Haney did the bare minimum to get a decision. He looked sharp, but Vasyl Lomachenko would have done more. He would have done better. Devin Haney, I saw someone say Devin Haney would beat Loma 8 rounds to 4. I mean, this is the same Devin Haney that won 7 to 8 rounds against Jojo Diaz. You guys really think he's going to beat Loma as convincingly as he beat Jojo Diaz or Jorge Linares? There's no way. It's not possible. He's not going to, and I know I just mentioned triangle theory, but you know what I'm talking about. He's not going to struggle against Jojo Diaz and really have to push himself in that fight and then be able to comfortably outbox Vasyl Lomachenko. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Now, maybe in a year or two, if Devin Haney keeps improving, which he has improved a lot, he may be able to accomplish that. But currently, Vasyl Lomachenko has too many tools for him. Now, Shakur Stevenson versus Loma is a much different fight. I think that fight would be very tough for Loma, but I do see him winning, and here's why I see him winning. The reason Loma had so much issues against Teofimo Lopez, and we can go talk about the shoulder all we want, but here's the truth. Teofimo's power was keeping him at bay throughout the whole fight, his power and his size, and he had Loma's respect with his power. Shakur Stevenson's not going to keep Loma at bay with his power. I'm not saying Shakur is feather-fisted, but Loma's not going to be discouraged by Shakur's power. He's going to keep walking through those shots. He's going to push Shakur back. He's going to get in range. When it comes to Teofimo Lopez, when he started to realize that he had to knock Teo out, even with getting hit by bomb after big shot after big shot, he was starting to walk through those shots and beat up Teofimo in those later rounds. Against Shakur Stevenson, he's going to be able to do that from the get-go. Now, Shakur may do a good job of keeping him at bay with his footwork and his defense and his upper body movement, but he's not going to be able to do that consistently against a guy as offensively diverse and versatile as Vasyl Lomachenko. Loma will get to him. Now, against Gervonta Davis, Davis is a massive puncher, but he can be outworked. He can be outboxed. And Loma, who's very defensively aware, he can be at risk of getting hit by a big uppercut or a big hook or something like that from Tank. But as I said in the past, if Rolando Romero can outbox Tank for 5 rounds before getting cut in the 6th, I bet Loma could do it throughout the whole fight. Now, he's not going to completely school Tank. If they fought, he would lose some rounds. He would be in danger of getting dropped and stopped in that fight. But he'd be able to rack up enough points and stay at bay long enough to outpoint him to a decision victory. Vasyl Lomachenko would defeat Tank on points in a fight where he'd have to box very smartly and very cautiously in certain spots. Now, Ryan Garcia, Loma's just going to get on the inside of his jab and beat him up. Same for George, except it'll probably be a little easier because George won't have the length advantage as Ryan Garcia. And after breaking down all of these fights, because I can't really think of anyone else, I mean, a Teofimo rematch, Loma would win. We all knew that Loma would defeat Teo if they rematched, which is why the Lopez supporters were so much more against the rematch than the Loma supporters. Loma would have beaten Teo. I wasn't picking him to stop Lopez, He probably would have beaten him on points, but the Lopez that fought Kambosos would have gotten stopped by Loma or beaten very widely on points. Now, after breaking down all these fights and going into detail of how I see them happening, a lot of people don't even think he beats Devin Haney. I mean, I don't know how they think Haney beats him. What does he do? He keeps him on a jab for 12 rounds. Loma is not going to be neutralized by a jab. I mean, Salido beat him by coming in heavily overweight, low-blowing him 100 times, fighting extremely dirty, and still arguably losing in only his second pro fight. Teofimo Lopez had tons of power and threw in volume and used his size to a close decision that many people had a draw. Not everyone thought Teofimo won that fight. So, if you're looking at all of Loma's losses and all of his performances, and you're looking at these opponents' performances, it's not going to be easy for these guys to beat Vasyl Lomachenko even now. I don't see any of these guys beating Loma, for being honest. Now, even Oscar Valdez's, Shakur Stevenson performance against Valdez, I think Loma would have beaten Valdez worse. I think he would have had a better performance against Valdez. He would have really pieced him up and battered him. What do you guys think? You guys think these guys would defeat Loma? Do you think he's disrespected? His boxing ability, not his pound-for-pound status or his ranking, his boxing ability is truly underrated in my opinion. I feel he does a lot better against these guys than people realize. I feel he's very underestimated because of his layoffs and because he hasn't had a title fight in nearly 2 years now. And because of that, people have forgot how good of a fighter he was. He's not washed up. He will be back. He will be a champion again. Thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, all one word, Mighty Max Boxing. Tell me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.